My name is Saru, and I'm a professional dog trainer. I have worked with hundreds of reactive dogs, and today I'm looking at most popular dog training videos on YouTube. And here's the thing: some of them work, some of them are good advice, but lots of these advice is also outdated, misleading, and can make your dog's behavior even worse. In this video, we're going to break it all down together: what's helpful, what's harmful, and what you should never try with your dog. Let's get started. So the first one that we're going to look at is from YCA Dog Training. Let's take a look and then I'll analyze.
So we're going to talk about corrections today with Lenny, and perhaps one of my biggest bugbears as a dog trainer is when a dog trainer tells you to put a piece of equipment on a dog or change how you communicate with a dog, expose them to their trigger, and then correct them when they react. What that means.
I agree. You shouldn't be putting your dog, first of all, on prong collar or shock collar or use aversive tools, and then put your dog in a situation that can be triggered or can be reactive, and then start correcting or training your dog or fixing the situation. That's number one. But number two, I wouldn't even put the dog in that situation in the first place, no matter whether we're using aversive tools or no. We wouldn't put the dog in that position, in that situation, that we have to correct the dog or fix the dog in that situation. The mind of that dog is not in the proper mindset in that situation that you can train or teach or fix the behavior. That's not the space, that's not the place, that's not the time to train a reactive dog.
May do is create what we call a superstition, where the dog doesn't understand the picture which we're trying to show them. In this instance, it would be Lenny might not understand that it's the barking, lunging, growling that gets him told off, and therefore he goes, oh, mum and dad tell me off when the trigger's here. Perhaps I experience some discomfort only when the trigger's here. And so it's imperative that a couple of things happen if we decide to use corrections in our training. Is one, that we prepare our dog to understand what a correction means. Yes. And two, we're not just trying to install rules in the presence of our dog's trigger.
I agree. First of all, you have to prepare the dog before you get into that situation where you're going to let the dog be exposed to the stressor or whatever is reactive to. You have to prepare the brain, prepare the dog. And second of all, you shouldn't be putting the dog in that situation, as I said.
It's really important that we're not just putting a leash on our dog, putting a collar on our dog, a slip lead, e-collar, whatever it needs to be, and then exposing them to the trigger and just saying, hey, you're not allowed to do that.
I agree. Now, one thing that I want to make sure that you understand, that I don't have a beef with these dog trainers. I like to think that all dog trainers have a good personality, have a good heart, are good people. There might be some who are not, but I don't have any fight with these dog trainers. I believe dog trainers, they're trying to help dog owners, and some are using certain methods and ways that I don't agree, and maybe this dog trainer also doesn't agree with what I teach. It's just a matter of ideas are different, and my purpose here is to give you my perspective of dog training and my point of view. I'm not attacking these dog trainers that I'm going to be talking about and showing you today. My goal here is just to give you some different ways of looking at dog training, especially if you have a reactive dog.
Talked about how we can have poison pieces of equipment. So I want to demonstrate something in a second where, okay, I put Lenny onto his flat collar, and what he's going to do is feel really comfortable pulling into it. Look how easy it is for him. It creates then a lot of conflict in the conversation between Lenny and I. And
so as you can see, any tool, yes, can be aversive if you are using the wrong method. You could use a proper tool to help you, but in my opinion, you shouldn't be depending on tools to fix the behavior, because no matter what tool you use, you will be harming the dog. That's very important to understand. So no matter whether you are using lead collar, you're using prong collar, you're using shock collar, you're going to be harming the dog, you're going to cause pain and discomfort. Therefore, you're not going to be able to really train the dog.
For the eagle-eyed of you, I've actually been using a prong collar or pinch collar. Now, I know that some of you might see this collar and think that is, oh, wait, that is a medieval torture device. It looks barbaric, but I'm here to argue the prong collar's corner. So we've got a harness which does not cause the dog to pull, makes it easier for a dog to pull. They've been used on huskies for hundreds of years, maybe not hundreds, but a long time. And they've been used for dogs that traditionally want.
Yes, I agree. Harnesses are designed for pulling, but again, if you're depending on tools, you're not working towards success.
To pull. We've got all different types of harnesses, from front clip to ones that kind of constrict on the dog. They're designed to use discomfort to change the dog's behavior. Arguably so is the prong collar. Okay, we've got slip collars that are going to sit high on the dog. When I don't typically have a problem with them, allows us good control of the dog's head. However, there's going to create an element of restriction on the dog because they have to be tight to sit in the right spot.
I agree with that too. Again,
we've got the flat collar. What the flat collar is going to do, if we try and walk our dog on the flat collar, is going to create enough discomfort where the dog wants to fight it. And if we're not really good and we don't have a really good reward system, which many owners don't, then very quickly we poison that. And we can then try and fix things up, as I've just spoke about in that previous video there, or we can just create a new piece of equipment. And so we have to weigh all of these things up to think, which is the best piece of equipment for our dog. And why I use prong collars on my own dogs and the dogs that I am fostering, with an exception to the sausage dogs, is because it allows me to adjust my dog's behavior with the least amount of pressure. And when I am working Lenny on it, it allows for the least amount of conflict. Whereas I see people.
So the keyword here is least amount of conflict. That means least amount of pain. I'm not sure if prong collar is least amount of pain than flat collar or any collar or harness. I think prong collar is more painful than other collars, but it's up to you to judge that.
People will argue that they will induce pain, fear, and kill your relationship with the dog and intimidate them. But I would just like to prove a point. I'm going to play with Lenny in his prong collar.
So one thing I want you to pay attention is most dog trainers who rely on tools, aversive tools, and aversive methods, they have this layout that they have these beds. Comes from a different method of dog training that they call this place or a bed or whatever. Plus, so that this is a red flag to you that this dog trainer uses aversive tools and methods. So that's one thing. Number two, dog trainers who also use aversive tools and methods, they do claim that they are using praise and play and reward-based training as well. They will play with the dog, they will treat the dog, but on the other side, they will also shock the dog, they will pinch the dog, they will cause harm, pain to the dog. And those are all red flags. I just want you to understand that just because the dog trainer says, okay, you're using play, just like he's using play, it doesn't mean that that's the only way that they're using to reward the dog. This dog trainer, for example, is using prong collars. I know that he uses shock collars as well. And I know he uses treats as well. So just because they use treats and toys, it doesn't mean that they're not harming your dog if you work with them, if you use their training method, if you start watching their videos and trying to mimic their method. Okay, so be aware of these red flags. And now we're going to watch another video of this dog that is going to, she's young. I'm sure she's not very experienced. She's another dog trainer that uses aversive methods and aversive tools and basically does cause harm to your dog. And she's one of those dog trainers also that you you can use board and train service, which you can leave your dog for a couple of weeks and they charge you arm and a leg. And basically, they harm your dog. They cause pain to your dog. Let's watch and then we'll analyze.
He knows as of right now.
Alrighty, here are Mr. Marty and I on day one. We're at the park just seeing how well Marty walks on a leash. As you can see, he's just kind of all over the place. Again, not really focusing.
He's not really all over the place. She's giving the dog a long leash and the dog is just enjoying that long leash. I don't think she's horrible.
Not really walking next to my side, pulling back and forth pretty hard on the leash. He's
not really pulling on the leash. You can tell, right? She's just making it sounds like, oh, this is a horrible dog, and that's why we have to go all the way and use aversive tools and methods. By the way, notice if you see any signs of a trainer who uses aversive tools and methods.
He does pull pretty hard. Here I go for a recall command. As you can see, he's not really paying attention. It takes me a good while to get him to come into me, and I
agree. The dog is not fully trained. He's not obviously trained, but it doesn't mean that the dog is horrible.
Place got here, and as you can see, Marty will kind of hop on and off.
So let's see how they started training this dog to behave properly. So as you can see, she's carrying this tool. So the dog is wearing a shock collar, and this is the shock collar's remote she has in her hand. So that's a signal, red flag to you that this is not an ideal dog trainer. Now, why do I say this is not an ideal dog trainer? The reason for that is because we are dealing with a young dog trainer who hasn't had experience working with many dogs, and she's relying on a tool to say that I'm a good dog trainer. If you're a good dog trainer, you shouldn't be relying on tools. You shouldn't be using tools. Why is it that as a professional dog trainer, you still rely on a tool to get results? That's ridiculous, and that's false, and that's misleading. You should be aware that a dog should be trained somewhere nice, somewhere proper, somewhere that is less distraction. And when you come in a place like this, you shouldn't have the tools. You shouldn't rely on tools. The tools shouldn't be a way for you to be only relying to it to get control and be able to manage the dog. If you are relying on a tool, what's the point, right? So again, red flag. I'm just sharing my perspective that you understand that when it comes to dog trainers, be aware, be cautious about who you're selecting as your dog trainer. Here's another dog trainer, Hamilton Dog Training. He's also showing here that, okay, the dog is reactive and all that. You'll see a red flag. So take a look at here. So the dog is wearing choke chain collar. Not sure if he's wearing prong collar as well, but definitely is wearing shock collar. Now, you may say, well, if you use the tool properly, again, you're not going to harm the dog. So in his hand, he has the remote for the shock collar. So he says, this is, if you use the tool properly, you're not going to be harming the dog. The problem I have with using, again, shock collars in a situation like this, yes, you can show off that, look, I can control this dog and look how good it is. But can you do this without the shock collar? Are you relying heavily on shock collar? If you're relying heavily on shock collar, that means you have manipulated the dog to be scared and afraid of you. And when the dog is scared and afraid, it won't be learning. You can't teach a dog to behave properly when it's scared, when it's afraid. So, for example, here, he takes this dog to the dog park, and Just imagine this, that you are invited to a party and you don't uh, mingle with the guests, and you don't socialize with them, and then what's the point of going to the party? So this is, the dog is at the party and is not supposed to mingle with the party members. Now, the other thing that I want you to notice, that he's giving treats to the dog. So one of the red flags, again, these dog trainers have, that you can see, is that so there's a marking. The dog is very stressed, and when the dog is stressed, uh, and you give treats to this dog, the dog doesn't see the food as a reward, sees as a stressor. Um, when you give treats to a dog who's not in the right mindset, it can become a stressful situation for the dog when is eating, actually, because treats for dogs is just food. In my mind, in our brain, we think we're giving treats, we're giving reward, but from dog's point of view, they're eating. And when you mix eating with training and shock collar and pain and discomfort and all that, it's just a nightmare, right? It's just not going to work properly. It's not going to have proper benefits. So this dog trainer, again,
Down.
he is forcing this dog to listen, and if the dog doesn't listen, it
Heel.
gets shocked. So he has his finger on the button, and I'm sure he has shocked this dog a
Heel.
few times already. And he says, in his mind,
Good
in
boy.
his mind, he believes that he's training the dog. But this is not training. This is a dog who's afraid to do anything, because if it's afraid to, that is going to be shocked and feel pain. Yeah, I wonder if this dog trainer can do this without the using this tool with the same dog. So be aware. Be aware of dog trainers that you watch. Be aware of dog trainers that you take tips from. Be aware of dog trainers that you hire. They can manipulate you and make you feel that you're in good hands. Let's watch another video. So this one is Beckman's dog training.
Owners who are embarrassed on walks, hard to deal with, tear your rotator cuff kind of release reactivity. Here he is 20 minutes later. No prong collars were used, no e-collars, no treats, no gentle leaders, no doorway method. So what did I do to help this dog? I'm going to tell you the secret weapon.
So the secret weapon here is that he
When it sees
he brings the dog to his property. And for example, this dog is a young dog who
another dog, you're
hasn't been exposed to dogs much, is lacking social skills. Now, why is it that this dog is lacking social skills? There are many reasons.
unleash reactivity is about the leash. A lot of it is about the leash. With this case, and maybe your dog's case, it's actually not about the leash. It's about the lack of socialization and desensitization to other dogs and friendships, coupled with the lack of exercise, but more importantly, fast twitch exercise. Leash reactivity by nature is satiating the fast twitch in them. Everything's fast, the pulling, the barking, the lunging, the freaking out. It's satiating their fast twitch, but the more important.
Yes, I agree. So this dog is lacking those social skills, and because as a young dog, if it's reactive, is because didn't have either good upbringing, maybe not a good breeder bred this dog. Most good breeders, they will socialize their puppies, they will raise them properly. This may have been a bad breeding. They haven't raised this puppy properly. And then it's in the hands of a young couple who doesn't know also what to do with this dog. They have been probably stressed because the dog is pulling and reactive. So they have also maybe skipped the initial socialization as well. So as you can see,
Well, if
this
your dog's
dog
aggressive,
doesn't
yes, that's
have,
very difficult. But a lot of people just have
reactivity.
dogs.
It's off leash and is not reactive to dogs, right? And the reason for that is because this dog is just young. But the problem is that I'm seeing here is that Beckham exposes these dogs to his own dogs, and that's not fixing the behavior. The dog may be okay now, but when they go home and they go back to reality, it's a different story. It's not that the behavior is gone and fixed. The other thing I notice here, for example, this German Shepherd is overwhelmed being in this environment, just being surrounded by this many dogs, unneutered dogs as well. There are some unneutered dogs. Unneutered dogs, they smell different than neutered dogs. Um, and also there are too many dogs here, and the place also is fenced and closed off, so he is feeling overwhelmed, that he's stuck here and he can fly, he can go away, and you can see the body language here that he's getting really uh, overwhelmed, especially with this Doberman just pushing and bothering, and this dog wants just to go away. So this is where the negativity of socialization begins. You don't want to over socialize your dog, and you don't want to under socialize your dog. So this puppy has been under socialized until now, but now is overwhelmed and over socializing. This is too much for the dog. For one session is just too much. It's too long. This puppy should have been taken away. Okay, so next video we're going to watch is from Zach George, the interview that he did with some professional. Let's watch and let him introduce.
Dr. Zazie Todd is a psychologist and a researcher whose work in part compiles and translates the most robust scientific studies on dog training and animal welfare, giving guardians and professionals clear evidence-based guidance to move away from aversive methods. Dr. Zazie Todd is a PhD in psychology, an award-winning writer, and an animal behavior expert.
In this case, I'm not going to be talking about Zach George himself, but this individual. But Zach George supports that also, which is kind of, I would say, I have a problem with that as well.
I mean, at this point, obviously, we know we've got to teach the public how to teach their dogs what red flags to look for and what green flags to look for in a professional. If there had to be some type of warning on these devices while they're legal here, at least in America and Canada, presumably, like what would those warnings be on a prong collar or shock collar? What should they say?
Well, honestly, I never look at these items in the pet store, so I don't actually know what they say on them. I would like to see shock collars banned. I'm in Canada. I would like to see them banned in Canada. I think we're...
Yeah, Canada. I'm Canadian too, so I like to see them banned as well.
Quite some way from that happening. But as you know from my accent, I'm originally from the UK, where shock collars are banned in Wales, but not in Scotland and not in England. I would really like to see them banned there, and there is actually quite a strong campaign, and successive governments have promised to ban shock collars in England and Scotland. It hasn't happened yet, but there are many, many animal welfare charities working hard to make that happen. So I really hope that at some point they will be banned, because there is no need to use them. The risks are really very concerning, and there are so many organizations asking for it that I hope at some point the government will ban them there.
Yeah, there is a clear international trend to get these devices off of shelves because of the harm they cause and the things we've outlined here.
Hopefully one of the things that's come across from this is that it's not just a discussion about dog training methods, it's a discussion about happy dogs, how you can make your dog happy and what your dog needs, basically, and learning enough about...
Yes, you have to make sure that your dog is happy when you're training your dog. If it's not happy, if it's causing pain and discomfort in your dog, whatever method or tool you're using, you're not causing happiness in your dog. And when a dog is not happy, is not learning, is actually turning off the learning cells in its brain, and is focused on avoiding the pain rather than learning whatever you're trying to teach.
Dog behavior, so that you can help to make sure that you're meeting your dog's needs, that you are providing exercise and enrichment, that you
I agree with that. You need to provide your dog's needs, which are exercise, training, socialization, care, and affection.
Are building a good relationship with them. And probably one of the easiest things to see, because we've talked about dog training not being regulated at all, the easiest ways to check if a dog trainer is using the right methods is, are they using food to train your dog? Because
Oh, there's a red flag. This is the part that I don't agree. Uh, yes, I agree that dog training is not regulated in any country. I would believe, at least in North America, it's not regulated. So that means anybody can call themselves dog trainer. The younger can call itself dog trainer. Zach George can call himself a dog trainer. I can call myself a dog trainer. But one of the things that I have at least know for sure that I have 20 years of experience, over 20 years of experience working for dogs, for dog owners, with dogs and dog owners, especially dogs who have behavioral issues. And I have gathered a lot of information. I have gathered a lot of experience. I know what works and what doesn't work. And one of the things that I noticed that it doesn't work is using treats to train dogs. Now let's see what she says more about this.
that's typically what we use in positive reinforcement. And there might be times when we use play instead. And there might be times when patting is appropriate. Praise, like just saying good dog, that doesn't do anything basically, unless it is always followed by a treat. So
I disagree. She says if you're praising that your dog doesn't work unless you are following it with treats. I highly disagree. Dogs, they really love if you praise them. If you tell your dog, what a good dog, what a good boy, what a good girl, and top it up with praising, and on top of that, you play with your dog, that's the icing on the cake. That's the best reward. I disagree that when she says that play or praise doesn't have any value or it doesn't work. I highly disagree.
I think that's a really important thing to know as well. You should be using food to train your dog. And
you shouldn't be using food or treats to train your dog. Remember, when you're using food or treat, you're saying, here's food. You're in your mind, you're saying, I'm rewarding this dog with food and treats. But from dog's perspective is, I'm eating now. Food for animals, for dogs, it has different meanings than it has for humans. Humans, we see food differently, whereas dogs, they see food as survival. If I'm starving, I'm going to die, so therefore I have to eat. So imagine that mindset being repeated throughout the day. In your mind, you're saying, I'm training the dog and I'm rewarding the dog with treats, but in your dog's mind is, I'm being fed. Good, there is food always available. Good, there is food, and I'm not hungry, but I'm being fed. I ate earlier and I'm being fed again. That's what your dog is thinking. That's the wrong way and tool of thinking of rewarding a dog, especially if you have a reactive dog, just like we saw earlier with those dogs who are reactive, and you feed them treats. It has no meaning. They're still in that fear mode. They're still stressed.
And if you're hiring a dog trainer, they should be using food to train your dog.
If they say we only use reward based, what that means is they only use food, or if they use reward based and also aversive tools, that's a red flag too.
I say that because there is so much obfuscation of methods. Dog training is not regulated, so people use all kinds of ways to describe the approach that they're taking, and sometimes it's not at all clear what a dog trainer is actually doing to train dogs. So you should be looking for them to be using food, basically.
And so just as a basic test to ask that trainer, if they're like, no, I don't use food in dog training, that's a major red flag that you're dealing with someone who probably is not prioritizing ethics.
Yeah.
I highly disagree. This is such a wrong message to give to dog owners, especially coming from Zach George and this lady. That's like, I am very disappointed that in this day and age, we're still relying on food and treats to reward dogs. And yet we have an industry that is confused and it's using all kinds of various types of methods to train a dog, where dog training is such a simple thing that all you have to do is build a relationship with your dog without relying on tools and gadgets, including food. Foods and treats are gadgets or another tools in your toolbox. The only thing that you have to rely on when it comes to training your dog is the relationship, to build a relationship, to build a bond with your dog, to build a communication system. And all of that can be done very simply and very easily with an intelligent animal such as dog.
If they're not using food to train dogs, then you should walk away and find another dog trainer who is. And the thing is, these days, there are lots of dog trainers who will work at a distance over the internet. So if there isn't anyone local to you, you can find someone somewhere else in your country or even in a different country who will be willing to use food to train your dog, and online consults can work really, really well. Because when you think about it, you're not just teaching the dog what to do, the dog trainer is also teaching the person what to do as well. So they...
I agree. When it comes to dog training, 70 to 90% of dog training is dog owner training. The rest is dog training. And I have such a good results with my students that we do online training, because I'm not putting the dog in situations like the ones that you saw in the video today, that we have to put a shock collar and rely on shock collar, rely on pain and discomfort to get results. We start building the knowledge and the things that a dog owner needs to know first. We empower the dog owner, then we start working on the dog simply, because now we are using a simple concept of dog training, using play and praise to train the dog, and therefore the dog is happy, is not stressed, is not in pain, is not in discomfort. Therefore you see and you get great results. Now, if you want to work with me and you want to get great results in your dog training, and you have a dog who's causing you headache and problems, including reactivity, being stubborn and not listening to you, I'm available to help you. If you want to work with me, there's a link in the description that you can book a free video call and we can chat about your struggles, come up with some solutions. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, share and comment below. Let me know if you have any questions or if you enjoyed the video. And until next time, have fun with your dog.